Hello everyone! Ang pag-aaralan natin today ay two topics sa factoring. The first one is quadratic trinomials given the numerical coefficient of x squared is 1 and factoring the difference of two squares. Let's start off with factoring quadratic trinomials and recall that quadratic trinomial is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So, ang focus natin is where a is equal to 1. Ano ba yung tinutukoy na yan? The numerical coefficient or yung number na katabi ni x squared is 1. That would be the focus of our discussion. So, familiarize ourselves kapag yung term ay yung may x squared or basta may degree na 2 kung ano man yung variable na ginamit, this is our quadratic term. Yung exponent lang ay 1, this is our linear term. And yung constant or yung number lang sa dulo, that would be our constant term. We can also refer to this part as first term, second term, and last term. So this is the proper way of writing the quadratic trinomial. You start from the highest exponent, pababa, at sa dulo is the constant. Now, there are several conditions that we can focus on pag nagpa-factor ng quadratic trinomial. The first one is when all the terms are positive. So, paano mag-solve kapag all the terms daw are positive in the quadratic trinomial? For the example, we have x squared plus 8x plus 15. So, ang iisipin dyan muna, yung last term natin or the constant term, dapat mag-iisip tayo ng number kapag minultiply, the answer is 15. At yung may isip nating number na yon, kapag pinag-add, the answer naman is the middle term, which is 8. So, ano ba yung pwedeng number na yon? Pag 15, pwedeng 5 times 3. So, ang product niyan ay 15. Kapag pinag-add, 5 plus 3 is 8. So, satisfied, di ba? Ngayon, paano isusulat yung factor? So, when we are writing the factor of the quadratic trinomial, i-express natin siya as dalawang parentheses. And then, you take a look at the first term, si x squared. Ano ba yung pwedeng ipag-multiply that will give you x squared? Siyempre, that is just x times x. Ngayon, yung dalawang number na naisip natin, which is 5 and 3, ilalagay lang natin yan after the x. 5 and 3. Or pwede ring 3 and 5. No? But since all our terms here are positive, ibig sabihin, the sign in the middle ng ating factors are also positive. So, we are going to check. This is already our answer. Yan. Now, how would we verify if our answer is correct? Let's perform the checking. So, we have x plus 5 and x plus 3. So, you apply the FOIL method. If you're familiar with the FOIL method, ang concept lang naman ni FOIL method is lahat nung terms dito sa factor ni x plus 5 ay mai-multiply or maipamigay dito rin sa kabilang factor sa terms niya na may x plus 3. So, if we're going to check, ito munang si x, multiply natin dito sa isa pang x. So, we will have x squared. Si x ulit, multiply sa kabila, and that will become x times 3 is, x times positive 3 is positive 3x. So, tapos na tayong mag-multiply ng x dun sa kabila. Multiply naman natin si 5. So, we have 5 times x, or positive 5 times x, that is positive 5x. And positive 5 times positive 3, that would be positive 15. So, ang pwede lang ma-simplify dyan yung like terms, yung pareho ng variable. So, x and x. So, x squared will just be copied. And 3x plus 5x, 3 plus 5 is 8. Kinokopya lang yung common or similar variable nila. And then, copy the constant term. So, we have x squared plus 8x plus 15. Which is the same doon sa problem na hinanapan natin ng factor. So, meaning to say, our factor for this quadratic trinomial is correct. Let's try another one. Suppose we have x squared plus 9x plus 20. So, anong pwedeng factor ni 20 na pag minultiply ay 20, kapag inad naman, ang sagot ay 9. So, think of a number when you multiply will give you the product of 20 at yung same number na yon kailangan kapag inad, ang sagot ay 9. And that is 5 times 4 because 5 times 4 is 20 and 5 plus 4 is 9. Therefore, we now have our factor. So, ganun lang siya kasimple. Oh, we will factor x squared and that is x times x. We can have 5 and 4 or 4 and 5. That's the same. And since all the terms in our quadratic trinomial is positive, all the terms rather are positive, so we will use both positive. So, kayo na mag-perform ng checking, but this answer will generate this given quadratic trinomial. Therefore, this is the factor of x squared plus 9x plus 20. Para sa second condition natin, paano naman kapag yung last term ay positive at yung middle term naman ay negative? So, parang magiging ganitong itsura ng ating quadratic trinomial. So, let's have an example. We have x squared minus 4x plus 24. Ganun pa rin yung iisipin. The number that when you multiply will give you 24 and when you subtract will give you negative 14. So, let's think of that number first. So, number when you multiply is 24. Let's try. 6 times 4 is 24. Diba? But when you add 6 and 4, that is just 10. Or even when you subtract 6 and 4, you will get 2. Hindi natin makukuha yung middle term. Kuha yung last term, but yung middle term, hindi natin madederive using 6 and 4. So, we have to change our factors. What other factors could be used aside from 6 and 4? So, we can think of another pair of numbers. So, 24 could be 12 times 2 because 12 times 2 is 24. And if you observe, 12 plus 2 will give us 14. So, that means we can use 12 and 2. Okay, so let's write the factor. This is x squared has a factor of x and x. Ganun din, ito, yung naisip nating number, kahit saan naman dito ilagay, ang importante ay tama yung pwesto ng signs. Okay? So, our numbers are 12 and 2. Let's write 12 and 2. 12 times 2. So, the question is, what should be the sign between x and 12 and x and 2? So, sa multiplication, di ba, when we multiply numbers, kailan ba magiging positive yung sagot? When we have like signs. So, balikan natin to. When you have positive 12 and positive 2 multiplied, we'll get positive 24. Same as when you have positive 12 times negative 2. You will also have positive 24. Ngayon, ang kailangan natin is to generate a negative 14. Paano tayo magkakaroon ng negative 14? So, obviously, we have to change the sign of the numbers that we use so that we can derive negative 14. Paano? So, instead of using positive 12 and positive 2, which will give us positive 14, palitan natin yung sign. So, we can have negative 12 minus 2, which will also have negative 14. So, observe, para magkaroon tayo ng positive sa dulo at negative sa gitna, kailangan parehong negative yung magiging sign natin. Remember, in this particular condition, ang pinakamadaling tatandaan kapag ganito ang given, yung last term natin ay positive, yung middle term natin ay negative, kokopyahin lang natin yung sign ni middle term. Yun na yung magiging sign sa dalawa na factors natin. Okay? Let's try another one. Suppose we have x squared minus 6x plus 9. So, automatic, we will have x times x. At dahil nga positive yung last term natin, kung ano man yung sign sa middle term, kokopyahin lang natin sa parehong factor. So, meaning, we are going to have minus and minus. So, isip na lang ng number. Anong number kapag minultiply ay 9? Pero kapag inad ay 6. So, 'di ba? 3 times 3 is 9 and 3 plus 3 is 6. So, we now have our factors. And we're just going to use 3 and 3. So, this is it. That is the factor for x squared minus 6x plus 9. So, paano naman kung ang third condition natin ay negative si last term at negative din si middle term? So, ang magiging itsura ng ating quadratic trinomial ay ganito. So, for the first example, ganun din yung concept. Sa dulo, si constant, mag-iisip tayo ng number kapag minultiply ay negative 15 at yung same number na yon kapag inad naman will give us negative 2, which is the numerical coefficient of the middle term. Pag-isipan muna natin mabuti kung ano yung mga numbers na yon. So, 15, pwede natin gamitin ang 5 times 3. Ang 5 times 3 ay positive 15. Ngayon, same number, kailangan nating magkaroon ng negative 15 na sagot. So, paglaruan natin yung sign. So, negative 5 times 3. Gawin lang natin na negative yung isa. 'Di ba? Kasi kung isa lang negative na yung factor, you're going to have a negative answer. Dahil kapag parehong negative yan, magiging positive na yon. Next. Kung positive naman si 5 at negative si 3, negative 15 pa rin ang sagot. So, meron tayong dalawang possible options na magbibigay ng negative 15. Si negative 5 times 3 at si positive 5 times negative 3. Ngayon, gamitin natin yung sagot, yung numbers na yan, kay negative 2. Sino ngayon dito sa ating dalawang options yung magbibigay ng sagot sa middle term, which is negative 2. So, gamitin natin si negative 5, tapos si positive 3. Ito, negative 5, ipag-add naman natin sila ngayon. So, di ba, kailangan pa rin natin yung concept ng addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of integers. Kahit na ang topic na natin ay quadratic trinomial. So, review your operations on integers. Going back, ang gagamitin muna natin na ito, ipag-add natin. So, negative 5 plus 3. Negative 5 plus 3. At yung isa naman ay 5 plus negative 3. Bakit ito ginamit natin? Kasi silang dalawa yung magbibigay ng possible answer na negative 15. So, ang tanong, sino din sa kanilang dalawa yung magbibigay ng sagot na negative 2? So, let's have, yung isa is positive 5 plus negative 3. So, negative 5 plus 3, the answer is negative 2. This one, yung positive tsaka negative, will become negative. So, 5 minus 3 lang yan. Magiging sagot ay 2. So, ang nag-satisfy na pwede natin gamitin for our factor is itong negative 5 times 3 at saka negative 5 plus 3. Kasi sila yung nagbigay ng product na negative 15 at lumabas din yung sagot kay numerical coefficient sa middle term na negative 2. That's how we're supposed to solve it. So, ngayon nakuha na natin yung numbers, diretso na tayo sa ating quantity or sa ating parentheses. So, x squared, the factor is x times x. And then, sundin na lang natin yung sign dun sa na-solve natin. Kung mapapansin nyo, pareho yan ang sign. Negative and negative 5. And then, si 3 dito, positive. Positive din si 3 doon. So, we will have x minus 5 and x plus 3. Or pwede rin namang x plus 3 dito at x minus 5 doon. So let's just try to check the answer. This is already the factor of the given problem. So if we're going to use the FOIL method, we have x minus 5 and x plus 3. To check our answer, x times x is x squared. X times 3 is positive 3x because your x and your 3 are both positive. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And negative 5 times positive 3 is negative 50. So, ang pwede lang masimplify dyan, yung merong similar terms, yung pareho ng variable. Ito ay x squared. Hindi natin siya pwedeng isama doon lang sa x. Ang pwede lang ipagsama or i-combine ay yung pareho ng variable at pareho ng exponent. So, simplifying, we are going to have x squared, positive 3x minus 5x. The answer is negative 2x. And just copy the constant, negative 15. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung sagot natin sa checking ay nagbigay ng tamang sagot, which satisfies the given quadratic trinomial. Ibig sabihin, our factor of x minus 5 times x plus 3 is correct. So, para madaling tandaan yung concept, para dito sa third condition natin, kapag parehong negative yung middle at saka yung last term natin, iisipin lang na magkaiba palagi ng sign. Ngayon, ang tanong, kanino mapupunta yung isang sign na negative at kanino naman mapupunta yung isang sign na positive. So, tignan mabuti at makinig mabuti. Kapag yung last term natin ay negative, titignan natin yung sign, yung middle term natin ay negative. Yung sign ng middle term, which is negative, ay palaging mapupunta dun sa mas malaking number. Okay? Again, negative yung last term. Pag negative yung last term, tignan yung sign ni middle term. Yan ay negative. Yung sign ni middle term, yan ang ibibigay natin sa mas malaking number. Kaya kung titignan nyo sa ating sagot, si 5 ay negative. Automatic yung isang number ay magiging positive. Let's have the next example. So we have x squared minus 8x minus 20. So magiging factors natin, diretso natin i-solve, ay x and x. So, anong number? Kapag minultiply ay 20, or negative 20, and then kapag inad, we'll have negative 8. So, kung iisipin natin sa 20 ay 5 times 4. Pero kapag inad yun or sinubtract, hindi naman magbibigay ng sagot na negative 8. So, isip na panibagong factor kay negative 20. So, mag-iisip tayo ng ibang factor. Hindi pwede si 5 times 4 kasi hindi siya magbibigay ng sagot na 8 or negative 8. Although, tama siya kay negative 20, hindi lalabas yung negative 8. So, aside from 5 times 4, pwede ring 10 times 2. Diba? So, 10 times 2 will give us 20. Si 10 at saka si 2, kapag sinubtract, magbibigay ng sagot na 8. So, meaning to say, ang magiging numbers natin ay 10 at 2. Okay? So, let's write. We have 10 and 2 or 2 at saka 10. Pareho lang yon. Ang importante, sabi ko nga kanina, ay tama ang pwesto ng sign. So, again, observe, this is negative, diba? So, pag negative si last term, titignan si middle term. Si middle term, yung sign niya, yun ang palaging mapupunta sa mas malaking number. Sino bang mas malaking number? Doon sa naisip nating factors. Diba si 10? So, si 10 will become negative and automatic the other factor will become positive. And this is already our factor. That means x minus 10 times x plus 2 is the factor of x squared minus 8x minus 20. So, paano naman para sa ating fourth condition na yung last term ay negative pa din pero yung middle term ay positive. So, ganito naman na maging itsura ng ating quadratic trinomial. For the example, so, i-apply lang natin yung concept doon sa condition number 3 kanina na pareho silang negative. So, we will have x and x. Mag-isip ng number na kapag minultiply will give you 28. And when you add or subtract will give you 3. So, anong pwedeng factor ni 28? 7 and 4. Because 7 times 4 is 28. And 7 minus 4 will give us 3. Diba? So, let's use 7 and 4. O pwedeng 4 and 7. Basta tama yung magiging output nila, yung resulting values when we multiply and yung resulting answer when you add. So, ngayon, kagaya ng concept kanina, kay condition number 3, kapag negative yung constant, yung last term, titignan si middle term. Kung ano yung sign ni middle term, palaging mapupunta sa mas malaking number. Diyan naisip natin. So, ang mas malaking number dyan si 7, di ba? So, yun yung positive. Automatic yung isa is negative. So, that is already our factor. If you want to try, you can apply the FOIL method. Para ma-solve, kailangan ang magiging sagot natin is this given trinomial. For the next example, that's x squared plus 2x minus 63. So, we will have x and x. So, numbers, when you multiply, will give you 63. When you add or subtract, will give you 2. So, that is 9 times 7. So, we will have, pwedeng 9 times 7, pwedeng 7 times 9, for as long as tama yung magiging sign na mapupunta sa bawat factor. So, in this case, kung negative, again, si constant term, tignan si middle term. Yan ay positive. Kanino ibibigay? Sa mas mataas na factor. That is 9. So, si 9 will become positive. At automatic, yung isa ay negative. And there we go. This is already our answer. So, this is factoring quadratic trinomials. In factoring the difference of two squares, we are going to follow this pattern. So, pag sinabi nating two squares, yung dalawang term natin ay perfect square, and then, ang operation in between them ay subtraction. So, to get the factor, we simply extract the square root of the two terms. So, kaya si a squared ay galing sa a times a, at si b squared ay from b times b. And since we have difference as the operation, we can only obtain that by multiplying two opposite signs. So, ang factors natin will contain one positive and one negative. So, let's try to check. So, kung ang sagot natin sa factor ay a plus b at a minus b, we would like to verify kung makababawi natin yung given na a squared minus b squared. So, let's apply the FOIL method, or simply multiplying the first term with the first factor with the other factor. So, a times a is a squared. Si a uli, multiply kay negative b. So, a times negative b is negative ab. Pagsasamahin lang yung dalawang variables. And then, b times a is positive ab. And then, positive b times negative b is negative b squared. Diba? Pag nagmumultiply tayo ng magkaibang variable, so pagtatabihin lang natin sila. Kapag pareho naman sila ng variable, we can add the exponent. Kapag walang exponent ang isang variable, automatic, the exponent is 1. Kaya tayo nagkaroon ng squared. Sa a times a squared, at b times b ay b squared. So, let's now simplify our solution. We now have a squared. When we have negative AB and positive AB, opposites of each other siya. So, that means it will give us 0. Parang negative 5 and positive 5, 0. Diba? So, ganun din kahit sa variable. Ganun yung concept niya. So, ang matitira lang ay a squared at yung nasa dulo na negative b squared. So, we were able to derive the given difference of two squares, meaning to say, this factor is correct. So, we can use this concept para diretso natin agad makuha yung factor ng difference of two squares. Let's have the examples. First one is when we have 36x squared minus 25y squared. So, again, ang factor natin sa difference of two square is always one positive and one negative. So, saan ba galing yan 36? What is the square root of 36? It is from 6 times 6. Si x squared ay galing kay x times x. Si 25 ay from 5 times 5. And si y squared ay from y times y. So, that means our factor is going to be 6x plus 5y. The other one is 6x minus 5y. And that's it. Next example, we have r squared minus 100 p squared. So, ganun uli. Our factors would be one positive, one negative. Pwedeng mauna si negative, tapos dito naman si positive. That's also fine. So, saan galing si r squared? R squared is from r times r. R and r. Si 100 is from 10 times 10. P squared is simply from P times P. So, mapapansin nyo, pare-pareho ng terms, naiiba lang yung sign in the middle. So, what about m squared minus n to the fourth? So, again, this is for difference of two squares, ha? O, unahin naman natin si positive ngayon. So, m squared is from m times m. Saan naman galing si n to the fourth? Ano bang square root ng n to the fourth? Anong factors pag pinag-multiply will give you n to the fourth? May exponent na 4. So, that is from n squared times n squared. Diba kanina, kapag pinag-multiply yung variable, parehong variable na n, you can add their exponent. So, n squared times n squared, kopyahin si n, i-add lang yung exponent. So, we will have n raised to 4. Next one. We have 4a squared minus 121. So, again, magkaiba ng sign. And then, 4a squared. Si 4 ay galing kay 2 times 2. Si a squared ay from a times a. Si 121 ay galing naman sa 11 times 11. So, this is how we factor the difference of two squares. I hope you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Ingat!